Dear listeners, today I want to talk about something I feel you should definitely learn it or know about it. And for that, we have a very lovely guest with us because today we are going to discuss about understanding the origin of evil. So you have probably felt it, that moment when you wonder, like, why you keep kind of falling into the same patterns, the same struggles, the same um, destructive habits that you promised yourself you would leave behind. And we tell ourselves it's just a weakness or lack of discipline. But what if there's something deeper at work? What if understanding where these patterns come from could actually change how we deal with them? But today we are exploring a question that sounds ancient but feels urgent in our everyday lives, where the question is, where does evil actually begin? And what does that mean for the battles that we face right now? So, welcome, dear listeners, to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Avik, and this is where we have real conversations about mental and emotional health without the jargon, without the quick fixes, just practical insights you can actually use. And today's conversation is one that I have been looking forward to because it actually touches something that we don't always name, but uh, definitely feel it. And the listeners joining me is a very lovely guest. Please welcome Michael Muccio. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Avik. It's great to be with you. I'm looking forward to this and to in before your listeners. I'm excited to share.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Thank you so much for being here. And dear listeners, like before we get into the discussion, I'd quickly love to introduce you to Michael. Um, so he's the author of Evil's First Breath, a former business consultant trained by Zig Ziglar and pastor with 4 decades of experience helping people understand the hidden patterns that quietly hold them back. So uh, I won't take much of a time. Let's get started. So Michael, like when most people hear about this word evil, I believe they think of extreme acts or kind of distant threats. But you talk about evil as something that has an origin story, a beginning. So, what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about where evil actually comes from and how it operates in our daily life or everyday life?
Wow, we're just jumping right in, aren't we, Avik? That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, evil is an all-inclusive word for
Yeah.
for me. It is evil is more than just the most darkest and sinister of acts. It
Mhm.
manifests in the area of fear. It manifests in pride. It shows up in anger. It shows up in an unpredictable uh, seasons of strife where instead of loving the person that we're with or we're in front of, we're choosing to create, excuse me,
Mm.
an atmosphere of dissension and division and there's a need to be right. So it causes all kinds of emotional difficulty.
Ah, yeah. So, like, um, when someone is caught in a cycle, they cannot seem to break, whether it is a habit or a relationship pattern, or I'd say a way of thinking. So then, how does understanding that origin help them there to see their situation differently?
Right. So evil actually began before humans were created, according to the biblical narrative.
Yeah.
And it began when the highest of God's creation, Lucifer, um, created this atmosphere where he was determined to exalt
Mm.
himself above his creator. And in
mm,
that process of doing that, he was able to actually persuade a third of the other angelic beings. Now,
mm,
Zig Ziglar, my mentor,
mhm,
he taught me years ago that you go to the head with a point and to the heart with a story.
mm,
So this is a story. It's a vision that came to me 35 years ago out of nowhere. And
mm,
out of the story, then I did a, um, a, a drama at our church that was very, very successful, packed the church out, and
mm,
many people. It was a life changing spiritual experience as they came to Christ. So we fast forward then to writing the book. The idea of writing the book is to, if you go back to when something began, you're better suited and better able to overcome it yourself. And
mm,
so because it's a story, you're able to fire up your imagination and put yourself into the storyline and feel what the characters are feeling, and that
mm,
has a greater chance of bringing forth positive change in our life. Zig told me years ago, he says he got 10 times more letters from people who their lives changed as a result of
mm,
reading one of his books than the letters that he got from people who just attended his live seminars. You have something in book form, people can read it, they can reread a sentence over and over, or if they're listening to it on audio, they can listen to it. It has a way of impacting you uh, to enable you to change.
mm. Got it. That means I think that shifts something important. Like we are so used to kind of blaming ourselves or uh, I'd say feeling like we are just broken. But if there's a larger story or deeper pattern, then maybe our struggles are not just um, our personal failures. Maybe they are the part of something that we can actually understand and walk through. Am I right?
You are actually, that is one of the more perceptive views right away. There's just like there, if we want to change our life, looking at a power greater than ourself helps us to
Mm,
change. But also, if we realize that a lot of times the evil shows
mm,
up, and you're right, you're absolutely right, Avik, it's not even us. It's
mm.
an outside voices that are
Yes.
coming to us in first person, present tense, making it look like it's our thought.
Mm. Got it. Definitely. So yeah, I mean, um, so like you have worked with people in the business and ministry, uh, in personal counsel for decades. So, um, when you look beneath the surface of what people struggle with, whether it is uh, the destructive habits or the self-sabotage, or kind of feeling stuck, then what are I mean, you think are the root causes or the deeper patterns that you see um, showing up again and again, time by time?
Yeah, yeah, another good question.
Mm,
I think it's not being teachable, not being pride has a way of blocking us from really discovering uh, what it is that can that we need to believe and remove from our life so that the
mm,
positive, the the feelings of love and gratitude and joy can be more welcome. But if we're all full of this cloud of emotional guilt and shame that's kind of rooted in these thoughts that bombard us externally from largely from spiritual warfare, there is an advantage to people who have that belief system where they're not afraid to admit they have a need for a power greater than themselves. They're not afraid. Now, in my context as a Christian, I'm turning to God. I'm turning to Jesus and asking Him to show me things about myself that I'm blind to. I'm not even recognizing.
mm. So, one more thing is coming to my mind, like when someone starts to recognize those patterns in their own life, And what is usually the first thing that needs to shift for a real change to begin? What do you think?
Yeah, it can be different for different people.
Yeah.
Some people, and of course that's an obvious, but I think if you were to really cut through it all, you're gonna come back to, um, pride. Pride is the first one, I would say, because that if a person is not open and teachable, and if they're not admitting their need, it's really hard to help somebody like that.
Mm,
And then the second one is the opposite of love is not
mm,
so much hate, it's fear. And so not only and pride, fear kind of can show up initially as pride. Well, people are afraid to face an area of darkness in their life, and so they show up. There's like a mask of pride, but deep down inside, they're really afraid. Um, I saw some of that in my own life. I would get angry on the outside, but really on the inside, I would there was a sadness going on that I really wasn't facing. I wasn't coming to terms with. And in Evil's First Breath, the storyline, you see this slow, slippery slope of evil that begins to almost spread like a virus, and then how the angels, the good angels, had to address that, and the power of certain spiritual disciplines, such as prayer, worship, praise, meditation, and these types of things, and then in exchanging your life for God to live His life through you. And I don't want to imply that it's all because spiritual forces and psychological forces really intersect a great deal. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen that or not, and what your audience, what their experience is. Maybe you can enlighten me along those lines, and then we can go the direction as because Zig, one of the things that I learned from him is that he would take truth and he would present what is it from a psychological perspective, what is it from a spiritual perspective, and a biblical perspective. So because truth shows up in a variety of ways, both spiritually and psychologically.
mm. Got it. So, okay, that's lovely. And um, because recognizing a pattern is one thing, but actually doing something about it requires more than just the awareness. Um, so I have to talk about our everyday life. Like, suppose someone is listening right now, might not think of themselves as battling um evil in some grand sense, but they know that they are struggling.
Mhm.
Maybe it's kind of, can say, anger that flares up too easily, or shame that keeps them silent, or fear that it
Mhm.
stops them. Like this, right? So, how does the bigger picture you are, uh, you are saying, show up in those ordinary moments?
Right. Shame shame is, vicious, isn't it? It's like a self-hatred cycle because when we see a pattern that's repeating, immediately we begin to feel the embarrassment, the shame of, why am I so powerless to do something about this? And so as we, and like you said, it's more than just awareness. Uh, it's once you're aware, then it's a matter of doing something about it. But there is something that we can do, and there's a variety of ways. For many people, it is it is a pause, and it is an exchanging your limitations for God's lack of limitations. And if a person doesn't have that spiritual relationship with God, you still can lock into the principle of looking uh, to just looking to love, looking to gratitude, and sometimes you have to push the issue a little bit. That sounds like a wrong way to say it,
Mhm.
but it's like you're feeling the fear, you're feeling the shame, you're feeling the guilt, you're feeling the pride, but when you have the awareness, now what do? You take some initiative. William Glasser years ago in his book Reality Therapy, he says you take responsibility for your feelings and your emotions, and you just jump. You just leap over the evil, the negativity, and you attack the evil with gratitude. I can't tell you, Avik, how many times I have faced some form of sinister darkness that pops up out of nowhere, um, and I just start thanking God. I just start expressing gratitude for, the simplest of things, or I just start exalting and praising God just because He's all-knowing and He's all-powerful, and that I can actually have a relationship with Him. He's inviting me into intimacy. So it's taking that assertive leap, uh, and and going with just a loving feeling. How many times, you can be in your marriage, and you can and have these dark, uh, thoughts coming up, these judgmental thoughts about your mate, and when you're aware, just jump right into, "Yeah, but." Oh, isn't she beautiful? Isn't she a wonderful cook? Isn't she? And you just start having this self-dialogue that goes on where you're jumping over all of that, and it's amazing how fearful evil is of that kind of of maneuvering within ourselves and shifting of our consciousness.
Exactly.
That was a little long-winded. I'll try to keep my response a little shorter because I'm enjoying our discussion, and I don't wanna get but that was such a well-asked question.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's really great knowing in kind of deep diving mode. But uh, so like as you said, one more thing is coming to my mind is like, suppose when someone is kind of in that moment, feeling overwhelmed or stuck. Ah, so what is the one thing they can do right then to interrupt the interrupt that cycle instead of just riding it out or giving in and all. So, what did you say?
Yeah. Uh, I think if that would depend upon the person, if their propensity if evil for them shows up in a way where it's, like, more withdrawal, or if evil shows up more as a way of attacking. Different personalities manifest differently, but it's all still the opposite of love. It's full of self. You're full of yourself instead of and this is what Lucifer was. That's why the story of the first principle of going back and seeing how he himself through his first of all, there was fear involved, but then it began to step into pride. But going back to the first principle and realizing, what is it that I need to do? What is that first step for me? For me, it was gratitude. Yes. For another person, it might be, a just peace, just looking at something that brings peace, beginning to talk to yourself in a way where you just, "Hey, this is I'm gonna relax into this. I'm just gonna take a tranquil attitude right now and just not I'm not gonna let my peace get disturbed." It's personality types different personality types need to draw on different positive principles. But there are basics. There are basics, and that would be love, would be joy, peace, gratitude, goodness, doing something good, serving another person in that moment, getting any way you can get your mind off of you and onto that other person, that's or if it's circumstances, maybe a great financial need that you have, that for that, I would think gratitude would be that works a lot, because we all have something that we can focus on. And once you start focusing on the positive, it's like the evil seems to have a personality where it just doesn't want to hang around. Joy and gratitude and love and peace, and goodness. So,
Mm. I agree. I agree.
mhm.
Ah, and right. So, also, I love that because it's something you can actually do. It's not about waiting until you are stronger or more spiritual or more together. So, uh, I mean, you talk about the first principle thinking, right? So, going back to the beginning to understand how things work. So, when it comes to overcoming destructive patterns, what is the practical or maybe I'd say reflective approach you would recommend people to start with, especially if they have tried and failed before?
Yeah.
Mhm,
There's a sacred text, Avik,
mhm,
that says there's nothing new under the sun.
mhm,
Um, and because if I'm caught up in myself,
mhm,
self-centeredness, some form pride, fear, anger, whatever, I'm not. I'm thinking that I'm different. My problem is different than anybody else in the world. And I mean,
mhm,
it, it, other people might be able to solve a problem like this, but it's different for me because it's just so much darker for me. And it's just like the, and this is many times an outside voice coming at us. It's a, and I think it's a spirit. There are spiritual entities that are looking to display hatred. They hate human beings, and it's the only way that they can get even with their creator. But so recognizing that you're not unique, and that these evil principles, these evil forces show up time and time again with all of us. It's the circumstances that make it feel so different, or the person that's in front of us, or that we're irritated with, whatever it might be. Uh, but let's pull ourselves back, to the very core of realizing that once again, that this is a pattern. This isn't unique. The uniqueness of it is how it's showing up in the moment. But the solution is the simplest of things. It's never complicated for us to stop and start singing a song, our favorite song, that will change the mood, change our emotions, change our feelings in that moment. And this consciousness of the habit of choosing what we choose in any given moment, like you said a moment ago, it's not a matter of reaching some sort of a spiritual level. It's a matter of moment by moment choices. And the more we start to collect, one positive choice of love,
mhm,
psychologically, and with kinesiology and uh, quantum physics, one choice of spiritual love is much, much, much more powerful than
mhm,
one thought of fear or shame or guilt. So you'll be surprised when you start to make these little choices of love and gratitude in the midst of difficulty and pain, how there is a momentum. And if you just keep doing that, that will bring forth the change of the pattern more than any other one thing. We're looking for that nirvana moment. We're looking for that uh, where it all just comes together and we're immediately transformed. Transformation, much of the time, not all the time, there are those moments where that can happen, those moments of enlightenment. But many times transformation is an inch by inch, a little bit at a time, here a little, there a little, line upon line, precept upon precept. And before long, we look back 3 months later and we look back and we think, my goodness,
Mm,
all those little choices. And maybe you did it right 2 or 3 times out of, and you did it wrong 10 times, but you did it right 2 or 3. But you
mm,
keep doing those 2 or 3 times because prior to taking this step, you weren't doing it right at all. You weren't choosing peace or love or joy or gratitude or goodness at all. And now suddenly you're consciously choosing it, and there is a momentum. It's a snowball effect. If like pushing a snowball up a hill, and how it
mm.
collects the store pushing it downhill either way.
True. That is lovely. So, Michael, like if you have to give one advice to the listeners today, what will you give?
And I shameless plug, to be honest, Avik, because I know what the book is meaning to the people who've read it. It's only been out for a month, but 35 people you can read what they are saying at my website, and it is transforming people's lives. It's
Mhm,
giving them a new appreciation for learning how to exchange their limitations for God's lack of limitations. It's deepening people's prayer lives. It's deepening
mm,
their awareness of thinking, their thought life and their emotions. And so, back to what Zig said, he got 10 times more letters from people that said they changed as a result of reading one of his books than just
mm,
hearing. So the podcast that we're talking about today, unless they listen to this podcast, every day for a week, uh,
mm,
it 2 weeks from now, they're only gonna retain 2% of it. But if you obtain the book, which I made it very inexpensive for people overseas, just the ebook is
mm,
only $6.99. The value in that $6.99 is much, much greater than the cost you spent. Plus, you can go back to my website, and my whole website is full of free items.
mm,
Just many, many 35-minute audios that are so rich, full of and that's all free. So I want to over deliver. I want to give much more than people are paying, and that's another principle that I've learned.
mm,
You can get everything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And many people are struggling, and it's a it's a sacrifice. But I would still say that buying that book and settling down with it and reading it, thinking about it, meditating on it, put yourself in
mm.
the story. You'll get entertained, as well as one guy said he was in the process of enjoying it, being entertained, couldn't wait to get back to the story, and then suddenly he would come across a spiritual law in the book that just was like hitting him over the head with a 2 by 4. Um, so we all need wake up calls, and I think that reading that book, because that's going to take you a few hours, but it's going to give you a lot of self reflection, meditation, and so forth. And you can get it; it's available at Amazon. You can just get that ebook, download it, and have it in immediately.
Exactly true.
In the audio, but there's an audiobook there too,
Okay.
but the audio is more expensive. So I'm just trying to help people with the most inexpensive way to take in the story, but the audio is on there too, as well as the paperback.
Amazing. Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we move, if listeners wants to connect with you, what will be the great way to connect?
My website is my full name, Michael J's the middle initial, Michael J. Muccio, Muccio, .com, michaeljmuccio.com. And then, or if you just remember the book title, evilsfirstbreath.com. That takes you to a landing page where you can read about those 35 people, and there's another interview on there. There's a 2.5 minute video that talks. But I think people have enough of awareness that have listened to this podcast here. It's just a matter of going. I think so. Probably evilsfirstbreath.com would be the easiest for them to remember and jump right toward. And they could go there right now. So. And
That's
then
amazing.
then there's a link to Amazon from there. You can click on that link, and it'll take you to where the book is and the ebook at Amazon. But I don't sell anything at my website. Everything at my website's free, and then Amazon is the one that's uh, where the book is available for purchase.
That's amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for easy reference. And um, I'll say, like, understanding where something begins changes how you deal with it every day. So, thank you so much, Michael, for being here and sharing your perspectives, your knowledge, and the experience as well. And for everyone who is listening, if today's conversation did something in you, just be with it. Notice like where it shows up in your own life. And at the same time, I will say just remember understanding the deeper patterns is not about having all the answers right away. So it is all about being willing to look, to ask, uh, to take one step at a time towards the real freedom. Right. So, uh, with this is your host, Avik, and this is Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I just say take care of yourselves and see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.